Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I could have your attention, please. I'm going to tell you what's going on here tonight. My name is Scott Shannon. I'm a professionally trained radio broadcaster, although some people would question that. I work at WCBS Radio, the FM side, with the CBS family. Welcome to the Blythedale Spring event tonight, honoring Bob and Nancy Stone and Lend Lease. I am proud and honored to be invited to share this evening with you. I've been lucky enough to have been involved with Blythedale Hospital for over 20 years. And for me, it's been gratifying and fulfilling, just a great experience. Being involved with the staff, the people who run it, and of course, the kids that I've grown to know and love over the years at Blythedale. Every year when we do our radio broadcasts from the hospital, you get somebody who puts a microphone and says, "How did you first find out about," I can't even remember how it happened, but I do remember it was a couple of days before Christmas, and I was reading a newspaper out of Stanford, and it was about a police officer's son, and he was riding his bike, and it was right in the neighborhood, and he fell off his bike, and he hit his head on the curb, and he was in a coma. And I remember my daughter, who was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 at the time, and I was telling her about it. She said, "We should go see him." And I figured out that Blythedale wasn't that far away from where I live. And we took a gold guardian angel ornament off our tree, and my daughter Kathleen and I went over there, and we kind of strolled in there. And at that time, it was a much smaller Blythedale Children's Hospital, and I just asked where the room was, and they kind of pointed down the hall, so we strolled on down there, and the parents were on a break, and the young boy was still in a coma, and we hung this little guardian angel up over his bed, and we started to leave, and somebody showed us around the hospital, and it didn't take long to take a tour back then. It was a fairly quick deal. And I guess you could call it a mom and pop operation, but it now, thanks to the generosity of so many people, many of you are right in this room tonight, it's just expanded into an amazing place. Cutting edge technology, as most of you know, the new inpatient hospital, the speech center, and the new day hospital, just incredible, but still with the same caring staff, and just a few more kids. And it's just truly a state-of-the-art operation. It's been a great pleasure for me to work with leaders like Larry Levine and Lena Cabana. And tonight, I have to tell you how much I admire and care about Mr. Bob Stone. I could tell you many stories about him and his love for those kids in the hospital, but I don't want to embarrass him. He's just an amazing job. And recently I had an unfortunate event in my life, and he was kind enough to send me a note, and I still have it. I keep it. It's quite an emotional moment for me to get a nice letter from Bob. At this time, I want to introduce to you a very special guest here tonight. This young lady is a former patient at Blythedale. She came there in the winter of 2012. I think she was like 15 years old. Would you please give a warm welcome to Miss Cara MacDonald.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cara MacDonald, and I'm so honored to be speaking to you all tonight. I'm a former patient at Blythedale, as Scott just introduced me, and I believe it was Dr. Rackley, my neuropsych, who asked me, as part of a series of simple questions to test my awareness, who the President of the United States was. And I still think back today about how shocked I was, even in the moment, that I couldn't answer this question. As it turned out, this was because during the election, I had been hit by a car and suffered a traumatic brain injury. The ambulance responded quickly, and I was soon airlifted to Westchester Medical Center, about an hour away from my hometown of Westport, Connecticut. To my knowledge, I spent the next few days here as my condition stabilized. By some miracle, I escaped with no broken bones, just stitches to my head. I'm incredibly lucky that just days before, a room had opened up in Blythedale's TBI unit. I was 15 years old at the time. I spent a total of 75 days here, which is a long, long time to be anywhere away from home. Even after my coma, the early days at Blythedale were filled with sleep, pretty much at all hours. Later, my close friends would tell me about the times when they came to visit me and tell me stories, and how it felt like talking to a wall. I would just fall asleep in the middle of their sentences or whatever words of comfort they had come to share with me. I may not remember them being there, but I know the presence of my friends and family, along with countless prayers from home, gave me the comfort and strength to recover as beautifully as I did. When I was able to stay awake for longer periods of time, I began therapy at Blythedale. I cannot thank the 3 amazing women who helped me through these times enough for giving me back the skills I had lost. Esty, my occupational and eating therapist, helped me fight my memory loss and push through the struggles of eating when I couldn't remember how to chew or swallow. My daily breakfast date, Deb, was my bubbly speech therapist who connected with me in more ways than one. She and I talked about rowing, the sport her sister did in college and that I missed so dearly back at home. And my beautiful physical therapist, or rather physical terrorist, as I like to call her, Janira, helped me push through those torturous exercises that would seem so simple to any one of us today, but helped me walk again, slowly but surely. Janira's new baby could not have picked a better mother if she had the choice. Even though I was regaining muscle fast, it was incredibly frustrating for me to be wheelchair-bound when I couldn't even use the bathroom by myself. These 3 women helped me through the struggles of regaining the skills I will never again take for granted. As time went by, I came to understand my injury and my limitations. I eventually sort of accepted my need for a wheelchair or walker, even to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I started writing everything down, something I still do today, to compensate for my memory loss. But one thing I know I'll never forget are the smiling faces of Catherine, my psychotherapist, Doctors Rackley and Alejandro, and my therapists, nurses, and plenty of other unsung heroes at Blythedale. These people watched me reach milestones, from whispering to speaking, walking to climbing stairs. I also made a few friends at Blythedale who made my seemingly endless experience in the hospital a little bit less painful. My father immediately took to a 4-year-old boy in a neighboring unit, Dewani, who had 2 broken legs. Dewani would race through the hallways like he was born on that wheelchair, and my father used to always invite him to my room. His noisy, high spirits brought a positive energy, and I really grew to love the kid. Also, last year's speaker, Nicole, is a girl around my age from a town close to Westport. And by New Year's Eve, she and I were watching my then idol, Taylor Swift, rock the stage in Times Square. For the first time since the accident, I felt like a normal teenager, hanging out with my friends. My discharge date was set to January 11th, and I anxiously awaited the day I returned to my home and my sense of normalcy. The night of November 2nd, 2012 could have gone so many ways. I happen to be incredibly lucky and have made a fuller recovery than anyone could have asked for. But without the unwavering support from Blythedale Children's Hospital, I simply could not function the way I do today, and I can never thank enough the people who made my recovery possible. Obviously, I could go on about this incredible facility, and I'm so lucky to be able to say that. Now my life has returned to as close to the norm as it could possibly do, and my future, which was almost stolen away from me, waits. With what Blythedale has done for me, I don't think I will ever be able to repay them, but my friends and I won't stop trying. At Christmas time, my friends fundraised over $1,200 to donate to the hospital, which it used to purchase iPads and technology to allow patients to interact and learn with their friends and peers. It was such a touching moment to see how my friends' hard work and donations were paying off at last year's Christmas concert when the iPad robot wheeled into the room and a little girl's smile glowed on the screen. I may still struggle with my memory sometimes, but I know I'll never forget those moments of care given to me by the people working at the hospital. Every patient who has passed through Blythedale's doors will tell you the same thing. This facility restores the gift of life to those who have come so close to losing theirs. Thank you all for your time. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Cara. That's, you can't really say it very much better than that. It's a glimpse of why we're here, why all of us came here tonight. My name's Owen Gutfreund. I'm chairman of the board at Blythedale. And, Cara's story is just a snapshot of what we do. And to put it simply, what happens at Blythedale is we take kids and we don't treat them like a collection of diagnoses and symptoms. Instead, we treat the entire kid. And in the words of Bob Stone, this is something I learned from him when I first joined the board at Blythedale, what we do is we give kids like Cara and their families a chance to reclaim and rebuild what she said, a path to normalcy, which is, of course, means something very different to each one of our patients. But it requires so many different practitioners. It requires doctors, it requires nurses, it requires therapists, it requires teachers, it requires people providing the kind of daily care, because 75 days is a long time. And the way medical care works these days, you're in the hospital for a day or two, and as soon as you have a steady heartbeat, time to go home. But that's not going to work for these kids. And Blythedale is the place they come to. I could go on at great length. I'm not going to. You'll hear more about Blythedale after dinner. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you all for being here. Already, just the simple fact that we're all here already this evening, we've raised more than $500,000 to support Blythedale's research efforts. So thank you, really, for that. However, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't also point out that with all the things we need to be doing for today, Blythedale today and Blythedale in the future, we still would be very happy to have more of your support. We need more of your support. And around your tables, there are little cards that describe some of the things that we might like your help with. So don't forget to look at those while you're enjoying dinner, and which you should do now. It should be coming around soon. And in 45 minutes or an hour, we'll resume our program after dinner. If I could have everybody's attention, we're ready to get started with the second part of our program. Excuse me. So hopefully you've enjoyed your dinner. We do have, one of the reasons why we're here is to honor some people, and hopefully in the process of honoring them, you'll get to hear some more great things about what we try to do and accomplish at Blythedale. I think something that I do want to point out, thank you. I do think one thing that I want to point out before I introduce the next person who's our CEO is that what you heard earlier was a story of one patient who had been in our traumatic brain injury unit. One of the most remarkable things that happens at Blythedale is that while we have 88 beds and we have about another 100 kids that come by day and then go home at night, of those nearly 200 kids, we could have 75 or 100 different diagnoses. What it takes for a kid to be the right kind of kid for Blythedale is just to be what we call a medically complex situation. And that means that it requires an incredibly flexible staff who can respond to whatever it is the kid needs, and there's no like specific category that each one of our patients fit into. And to have that kind of really flexible staff, and in today's healthcare world where everything's always changing, and even if we figured out how to navigate today's healthcare world and what kids need today, that's not the same as what they're going to need tomorrow. And also, once we figure out how to do the right thing for our kids at Blythedale, we don't want to just keep it in the building. We want to get the word out by research that then gets published, and by advocacy, and by spreading what we think is the best care model around to other people. And all of that happens by an incredible staff, and leading that incredible staff is just an absolutely fantastic CEO. I can't really picture a better CEO for Blythedale in the 21st century than Larry Levine, who Bob Stone brought to us, by the way. Thank you, Bob. And Larry is going to come up on stage and introduce one of our honorees.
Thank you, Owen, and good evening, everyone. We are happy to come together tonight to honor Bovis Lend Lease, who built our magnificent new facilities on time and on budget, and Bob and Nancy Stone. As many of you know, Bob was Blythedale's CEO for 40 years, and under his extraordinary leadership, created many innovative programs, built Blythedale's reputation, and put Blythedale on New York's medical care map. But first, I want to give a rousing thanks to the Blythedale staff. Their dedication and passion is unparalleled, and the work they do is truly remarkable. For those staff that are here, please stand up and be recognized, and let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. And I also want to thank all of you, our generous supporters. We have some later figures than Owen gave you this evening, and we have now raised $600,000. So thank you all very much for your support. You know, Blythedale story is an extraordinary one. It's a place where a 4-month-old takes her first breath on her own after being weaned from a ventilator, or a 5-year-old high-fives her pediatrician while recuperating from kidney transplant surgery. Or it could be a 13-year-old little leaguer who learns how to grip a baseball again after sustaining a life-threatening burn in a fire. Or a 1-year-old previously confined to the intensive care unit, seeking medical treatment at Blythedale for a correction of her pulmonary hypertension. She's weaned from the ventilator and begins to reach typical developmental milestones for an infant of her age. Or even Cara, the remarkable young woman we heard from this evening, who shared her dramatic story of recovery from a traumatic brain injury. Throughout the years, Blythedale has been a beacon of hope to tens of thousands of children who receive innovative medical care and intensive therapy. You know, we treat some of New York's sickest and poorest children, and our patient care results are second to none. We beat rigorous clinical performance benchmarks over 90% of the time. This is due to our wonderful team of doctors, nurse practitioners, nurses, therapists, psychologists, and child life specialists. One of the statistics that we're most proud of is that over 85% of our patients are able to go home. This is truly remarkable when you think about how sick these kids are upon their admission to Blythedale and how incredibly complicated their home settings often are. Kudos really go to our clinical team for getting our patients ready for discharge, and to our phenomenal social workers and case managers who are truly unrelenting in obtaining the vast resources these children need so they may return home safely. So we continue to accomplish a lot for our patients. We are doers, but we're also dreamers. Our entire organizational culture is built around our passion. Indeed, our relentless pursuit of working every day to figure out how we, each staff member, can improve the care of every child that we treat. Part of our dream was to build new state-of-the-art facilities which are sensitive to the needs of families and children. We opened our new inpatient hospital building in 2012, and just recently we cut the ribbon on our new space for our innovative day hospital. But we look at our decade-long building program not as an end, but as a beginning. Not as a time to lean back and rest in our laurels, basking in the glow of these beautiful new facilities, but rather as a moment in which we begin a new journey that aims to set the bar very high to address the unique needs of medically complex kids. A new journey that calls for Blythedale to transform the country's healthcare delivery, research, teaching, and policy advocacy landscape for these vulnerable young patients. Our journey will be to create a world-class center for medically complex children that will provide a comprehensive approach to dealing with the many unique clinical and social challenges that these children and their families face. Allow me just a few minutes to tell you about some of the exciting initiatives that we have underway and we're planning for. First, we'll create an integrated health delivery system, offering a broad, full spectrum of programs from inpatient and day hospital care to new programs like long-term care and home care. We will establish a new organization called a medical home, which will coordinate care beyond a child's hospitalization so that children will always receive the right care at the right time, at the right place, right in their own communities. You see, currently these children, many of whom are poor, just fall through the cracks of a very fragmented healthcare delivery system, and they're forgotten and never receive the proper follow-up care until it is too late. We will develop a new health policy and advocacy center that will serve as a national thought leader and model by creating policy research to conduct this research, uncovering gaps in service delivery and access to care. Our research will lead to new legislation and policy changes, not only for the federal government, but for many states across our nation. We will start a new clinical research institute that will conduct path-breaking research, bringing new treatment modalities to disabled children, which will allow them greater functionality and independence. We hope to expand our teaching hospital role by training more medical residents and fellows, nursing students, and graduate students, not only in caring for children with special medical needs, but in helping these trainees to better understand the many burdens these families face taking care of a medically fragile child. And last but not least, we will focus on capacity building or scaling up the Blythedale model, in which we leverage Blythedale's enormous expertise to create other Blythedales around the region in areas we don't currently serve. So the end result will be that more and more children who desperately need our programs will be able to get first-rate medical care and rehabilitative care in their local community. So through this clinical excellence, our cost-effective care, passionate and data-driven advocacy, community outreach, care coordination, and very strong academics, the Blythedale Center will be a powerhouse, a source of world-class care, as well as the epicenter for those seeking to advance knowledge and clinical practice to optimize the lives of medically fragile children. We firmly believe that this center will become the gold standard of what the future of healthcare could be for a specialized and vulnerable pediatric population. You know, these days we hear a lot about how healthcare is in trouble in New York and around the country. We read about hospitals that are closing. Many are teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. Medicare and Medicaid budgets are being cut. Insurance companies are difficult for patients and hospitals, and premiums continue to be way too high. But despite all this negativity out there, Blythedale is resilient. We push forward. Despite this general pessimism, Blythedale has created an ambitious strategic vision with big, big goals. And as you just heard, we're optimists. Yes, there are hurdles and obstacles that we will encounter along the way, but we are determined to succeed, and we will succeed. As Winston Churchill once remarked, a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. It is our tireless pursuit to improve the health and quality of life of these children that has always driven us, and that has brought us to where we are today. And so tonight, I call on each one of us, our staff, our board, our donors, to begin our work anew and to dream new dreams, to make this world a better place for children with special medical care needs. And I'm convinced that working together, all of us, will make these dreams a new reality. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to bestow the first honor of the evening to Lend Lease. 5 years ago, we formally broke ground in our $76 million modernization plan to build a replacement inpatient and day hospital facility. This campaign for Blythedale was unprecedented, and we knew we had to partner with a construction company that was the best of the best to see it through to the end. And Lend Lease was indeed that partner. It was the perfect match. Since that time, under Rich Steimel and Lend Lease's leadership and oversight and enormous expertise in the construction industry, we have cut ribbons on our new hospital wing, the new Niarchos Foundation Center for Speech and Audiology, and most recently our day hospital and early childhood center, all on time and all on budget. And Lend Lease has also provided their philanthropic support to Blythedale, both as a regular sponsor of this event as well as our annual Golf Classic. It is an honor to recognize Rich Steimel and Lend Lease for their extraordinary commitment to building not just a building, but a future for our children. Rich, would you please come up? See, I'm going to have to remove my glasses. To Lend Lease, in recognition of your dedication, generosity, and support in helping us to build a legacy of enduring health for children, April 9th, 2014.
It's very special, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Picture, upstart. Well rehearsed, you can see.
You want to put your glasses back on?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Am I going to speak now, or? Yeah, thank you very much. Oh, yes. Before I thank Larry and Blythedale, I just want to reinforce the story I heard from Cara. That was a remarkable story and very inspiring, and I take my hat off to you for having the perseverance and certainly recognize what Blythedale can do. They can change lives. It's very, very impressive. Also, I also wanted to thank the vendors and the subcontractors and the friends of Blythedale for their support and generosity. And you know, at the end of the day, they've made this, or have helped make tonight, a reality, and that's very special. And the support and generosity is appreciated. My first thank you is to Larry. This is a very special honor, and personally, I find this to be a privilege to be here accepting the award for Ralph Esposito and for the entire Lend Lease team. I'm very proud of what the Lend Lease team did and accomplished, and I have to tell you that, as Larry said, it was about 5 years ago that we first met Larry and Maureen and Owen, the design team, the consultants, Peter Romano and John Cleaver, and we knew instantaneously that there was a common theme. You can sense that there was a bond. And I do believe that that bond continues to this day. It actually outlasted the job. And I think that the common goal that I sensed was that it was everyone's mission as a team collectively to make the job a success. And by every measure, it was a success. The whole program was. At the end of the day, there's a beautiful new children's hospital. It's going to serve the severely ill for many years to come. The renovated space is top-notch. I'd like to point out that the program and project was done safely. It was done on time and within budget, and that's something that doesn't happen by chance. To me, it's a testament to the dedication and the commitment of the entire team, and personally, I'm very proud of how the team performed day in and day out. Over that 5-year period, there were different phases, different parts of the job. It was an expansion program, it was a rebuild, it was a renovation, and I would like just to note some of the key players on that team, starting off with Brandon, Charlie Lewis on the field side, Rob O'Donoghue, I'm going to have to cheat a little bit, Keith Calameyer, Chuck Turano, Christina Esparra on the accounting side, Eric on accounting, Nancy Hayes-Davis, our admin, Brian Ammerman, Steve Perry, and Rich Leffler helped out on the project review side, so I thank all of you for being there for us. Over those 5 years, we forged quite a relationship, and to this day, Lend Lease considered to be a strong one. Larry and Blythedale were there for us in the good days and a couple of the bumpy days, and the relationship stands strong as ever. And Larry, if there's ever a need, please reach out for us, because we'll be there for you, because you've always been there for us, and it's very much appreciated. On a closing note, I just want to thank everyone again for the opportunity to work at Blythedale and for the honor that you've given us all tonight. It's very much appreciated by the Lend Lease team. Thank you.
There's no way to understate there's no way to overstate, excuse me. There's no way to overstate how important Bob Stone has been to Blythedale. But I'm going to try to come close to understating it, because one of the reasons why we come to an event like this is because we want to support the place, and in some cases learn a little bit about it, and in other cases just enjoy a great night in a great setting with people that we want to be with. But I think it is important occasionally to honor people and institutions that have made an enormous difference to us. Now, I could tell you about how Bob spent 40 years as CEO of Blythedale. You already heard that. It was from 1961 to 2001. By the way, he started as CEO at Blythedale when he was 32 years old. I could tell you about how he's taught about health administration and public health and healthcare delivery at Columbia, at NYU, at the City University of New York. He's published articles about the importance of play for kids. Now, of course, that seems kind of obvious, but it required somebody to go out there and say, even sick kids need to play. I could tell you about his civic involvement as president of many organizations: Westchester Health Planning Council, the County Hospital Association, the Northern Metropolitan Hospital Association. Or I could tell you about all the great things that Nancy has done. Nancy, who, by the way, started at Blythedale before Bob did as a volunteer in our rec department, and has her own long history of being an ever-present force in children's health care in Westchester and at Blythedale. She's been involved in the Institutional Review Board at New York Medical College. In particular, she's done some important work for the families of hospital patients by starting an organization called Family Friends. And this comes back to the whole thing about Blythedale recognizing that what matters for a kid isn't just getting the bandage changed, so to speak. The whole kid. And a part of the whole kid is their family. And a part of what families need are not the same for kids in the hospital as what families of adults in the hospital need. It's an entire different set of issues. But to be honest, those are not the real reasons why Bob and Nancy are being honored here tonight. Well, of course, they are reasons, and they are reasons enough, but they're not the main reason in my mind. The main thing that is hard for us to imagine now is that when Bob and Nancy came to Blythedale, it wasn't even a hospital. It was a somewhat adapted wooden farmhouse that was really a convalescent home. And under Bob's leadership, it became a hospital with a capital H. It became accredited by the American Hospital Association, and it became a hospital like none other. It became a hospital in this era of care networks and corporate alliances and corporate affiliations. It became a hospital that nevertheless every single hospital and every single network in the metropolitan area sends patients to, because there is only one Blythedale. And that has a great deal to do with what Bob made it into. We get referrals from everyone because they know how good we are, they know we're the best, and kids need the services that we provide at Blythedale, and nobody else can do that. But one of the examples of the whole child approach that Bob brought to Blythedale, it wasn't just bringing in the best practitioners, which he did, and changing the culture so that kids were allowed to leave their rooms. And we heard a story about the kid who got to be expert racing his wheelchair up and down the hallways, which wouldn't be allowed in any other pediatric setting, but is allowed at Blythedale because we want kids to be kids. What's the main hallmark of kids' life? Kids' life revolves around, aside from their family, kids' life revolves around school. And Bob was instrumental in the process of getting the appropriate legislation and state approvals so that Blythedale can have an on-site school, so that even if a kid needs to be in the hospital 4 months, they can still go to school every day and have classmates and have teachers and continue to do all the kinds of growing and learning that kids need to do, even if they are medically complex. Sorry, getting back to my notes here. But one equally important hallmark of Bob's legacy, and then I'll wrap up, is the culture of adaptability. The idea that what we are today is never good enough, that healthcare requires being willing to change, allowing the institution to evolve. That's also the culture that Bob Stone built at Blythedale. It is not an understatement. Sorry, there I did it again. It's not an overstatement. It's not an overstatement to say that what Blythedale is going to be in that fantastic strategic vision that Larry laid out for you. What Blythedale is, what it has been to all the families that we have served, what it will be to the families that we will serve, what we were, what we are, what we strive to be. These are all built on the basic foundation that Bob Stone built for us. There's no question that Blythedale would not be capable of imagining the things that we are planning to do, and we wouldn't be capable of treating the kids that we treat today if it weren't for Bob's leadership over the 40 years that he was CEO. And it gives me enormous honor to honor him for that. And Nancy. Now, Bob, you're supposed to come up here and say a couple words.
That's it, now I can sit down, right?
Never at a loss for words, this man. I'm sure we'll hear one or two.
My Lord, after that wonderful introduction, I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. Do you have anything to say? No. Oh, okay. Last month, at the Academy Awards dinner, the honorees got 45 seconds to say thanks. You are in no such luck tonight, guys. But I have vowed on a solemn oath to keep this very brief. It was nice. First of all, I have to tell you that Blythedale has been an enormous influence on my life and Nancy's life, and we are deeply indebted to Owen and the board and Larry and the entire institution for this honor. It really means a great deal to us, and I thank you all very much. As Owen said, Nancy started working at Blythedale before I did, and her family has been involved in Blythedale almost from its very beginning. Her Aunt Marion Levy, who cannot be with us tonight, she's in her 90s. She started working at Blythedale, I think it was during the Roosevelt administration. That's Teddy Roosevelt I'm talking about, so. I found out something that I'm not sure everybody knows. Nancy's great-grandfather gave the money to buy the land that we now sit on where Blythedale is. And I was very impressed with that. As a matter of fact, when I heard it, I did the only ethical and right thing to do. I asked her to marry me, is what I did. Right. I was very pleased she accepted. What else did I want to say? I want to thank all our friends and relatives who came to join with us tonight and to celebrate this moment. And I was particularly pleased not only to see all our friends and relatives, but I must say I was touched by seeing all the staff members and former members of the board and current members of the board who were kind enough to come and contribute to this evening and to participate. I can't help but say that thinking about the children of Blythedale, there's a flood of memories of children for whom we did a lot of good things for and helped make their lives a lot better. But there's also a flood of memories of children, despite our best efforts, that we couldn't do as much as we really wanted to do. And I must tell you that I am so pleased that everything that is contributed here tonight will be going to research and improve our knowledge so that we can help more children who really desperately need our help. I sort of hear the music playing, which says my 45 seconds are almost over. But I know, having been around the block a few times, I know that some of you came here out of a sense of obligation. Probably didn't even know how to spell the name Blythedale as you were writing it on the check. And so I want to give you back something, and it's in the form of a suggestion. Take a couple of hours out of your life and walk into this hospital. You are going to feel wonderful for your participation tonight. And you will also feel like a better person and that this world is a better place. And Blythedale will give you that as it is given to everybody who has ever walked in there. And I thank you all again. Oh, excuse me, somebody may want to have the last word.
I really wasn't going to say anything, but you put me in your microphone and I'm unstoppable.
You have 45 seconds.
Bob mentioned that I was there before him, and indeed I was in 1952 when I got my driver's license. my mother said to me at the end of the school year, you are not going to spend your summer sitting around the pool waiting for boys to call you up. You're going to do something constructive, and I've decided what you're going to do. So I went to Blythedale and volunteered that summer, and I didn't meet anybody there. It wasn't until 1979 that I went back, and well, actually it was because Marion Levy, my aunt, had told me that he was kind of on the loose. And so I went to scout that out. And here we are 33 years later.
Say goodnight, Gracie. Thanks so much, Bob and Nancy, and Bovis Lend Lease, and Cara for sharing your personal story with us. It's never easy to share personal stories with a room full of strangers. And Scott Shannon for doing a great kickoff at the beginning of the evening and his great efforts every December to raise money on our behalf. And really to all of you for coming and supporting us. I hope you understand from all the things we've said that our mission's not over, and you'll continue to support us in other ways as we try to move forward. The development staff has asked me to remind you that the wish list is up on our website, so you're welcome to go peruse that and support us. Also, the flowers have to go, and if there's a dispute at your table over who gets to take them, somebody at each table has a gold star under their coffee cup, and that's the way to resolve your dispute over who gets to take the flowers. But thank you, everybody, for coming, for supporting us. This is an important place. We need your help.